Hey everyone, this is Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fix, a Vixxo podcast. Again, I'm your host, Daniel Litwin, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Vixxo's podcast. We appreciate you listening along to some facilities thought leadership as we continue conversations focused around our OEM solutions and the broader manufacturing industry. Before we get into our main thought leadership for the day, I want to point you in the right direction to get some more Vixxo content, so make sure that you're going to our website, Vixxo.com, Vixxo.com, for more information on the various things we're going to be breaking down today, and also for more Get Your Fix content, and also videos, articles, blogs, all that good stuff. You can also subscribe to Get Your Fix on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just hit that subscribe button and you'll have a full catalog of previous conversations, as well as notifications when we drop new ones. So without further ado, let's get into the core of our content. If you've been following along with episodes of Get Your Fix, you'll know that we're continuing a series of shorter, snappier video interviews on what we'd like to call the Vixxo basics for manufacturers, really breaking down the core tenets of why a third-party installation partner is worth your time, your investment, and your professional energy as an OEM. So what we're going to be doing is really communicating why we here at Vixxo believe that today's manufacturing challenges, especially at scale, are becoming so unmanageable just as an internal challenge, that bringing on a third party like Vixxo is becoming less of a differentiator and a cherry on top, but more of a necessity to really meet today's manufacturing needs. So we're going to break down what those needs are and how a helping hand from Vixxo could be part of the solution, as well as how that helping hand works in practice. So for our next interview in this series, we're going to be breaking down how an installation partner can extend their relationship beyond just the nitty-gritty of a manufacturer's equipment installation, hardware care, and oversight. So we're going to be discussing how a facilities partner like Vixxo provides sales support, again, more specifically, sales support to a company, and how that can lead to rapid growth and why that is a wise investment. So I'm pleased to welcome our guest for the interview today. We're rejoined by Mr. Ryan Baumgartner. He is Vice President of Projects and Partner Development at Vixxo. Ryan, great to have you back on. How you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Always a pleasure to get you in the studio chatting something great and exciting about your solutions. This is a period of big change for Vixxo as y'all really launch this at scale and bring more manufacturers into your ecosystem. So, it's really exciting to break down all the various ways that provides value, but then really get into the nitty-gritty of the why and the how, and how we achieve that value at scale. So again, we're going to be chatting sales growth today and how Vixxo can extend that benefit, beyond just installation and hardware, but to sort of the entire ecosystem of an OEM's company. So let's get into the nitty-gritty then, Ryan. As Vixxo has built its solutions, it has really prioritized being a holistic partner here. So if we look at your retail facilities or C-store facilities, you have a very similar dynamic. You provide support with hardware oversight, installation, little things like that, but also making sure that you have a logistics oversight for your partner, making sure that you provide that sort of tangential value as well, and that you really act as a full partner. So break down why it's been important for Vixxo to prioritize that sort of holistic approach to partnership, especially as you've been extending your services to manufacturers. More specifically, can you break down why it's been important for Vixxo to prioritize making its facility partnership extend beyond just equipment oversight, installations, etc.?
Yeah, so essentially, Vixxo has a really great projects department, and we take on very large projects for our facilities partners today. And as we've grown that side of the business, and we've grown kind of our talent with project managers, construction folks, it just seemed like a really natural fit. Right, we were installing a lot of these pieces of equipment and manufacturers' products for years with most of our facilities partners. So we've just now started to go out kind of to the market and say, hey, as these innovative products are coming out and they're pushing them to these like great brands and retailers, we have such a large support network across the US and Canada that can actually facilitate and really drive value for these manufacturers. So it was a really natural fit for us to extend it. We're really putting a lot of effort and energy behind it now to really push out and deliver results from an end-to-end solution. Right. And I think for the manufacturing side, because we do have those relationships and we are on those phone calls with clients all day, every day, and understand the importance of when to install a product or the delicate nature that you have to install, some of these really popular brands, we can actually be an extension of the manufacturing team, right? A trusted partner, not just, hey, this is our, somebody that does our installations for us. We can actually get on the phone with you and your client and talk through those dynamics. And so it makes a really natural fit and a really good value proposition at Vixxo.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that can really be seen in the success that you've had in your other divisions, launching your services for your retail partners and your C-store partners. So naturally, it makes sense you would bring that vision to your OEM services and solutions as well. So expanding the scope of our conversation, let's get into the sales side of this specifically. What sort of sales support are you seeing your OEM clients need the most today, and why? What is it reflecting of the state of the market, or just kind of some of the state of the dynamics between OEM and client?
So me being a sales guy, I understand the difficulty of closing the deal, right? So bringing the end-to-end solution and having a partner in place. Now, a client may dictate that they manage the install, that they're the ones who are going to take on the project. But a lot of times that's because a manufacturer may go and say, hey, here's our product, and where do you want us to ship them? Right. They may not have that plan. They may not have that talk track, right? So what we do is we give you then that end-to-end capability as a salesperson to not only go in and say, well, here's how much the project's going to cost you, but we already have a plan to roll this out for you. And here's how long that's going to take, and here's how much that's potentially going to cost. Because essentially, your client internally, they're going to have to get budget approval. Then if you put that task and the burden on them to go figure out who's going to manage this internally, how long is the project going to take, what's it going to cost, all of those dynamics push out your sales pipeline, and it doesn't give you the ability to close business faster. Right. So what we can offer you is that end-to-end capability that will move people through your sales line faster and really equip sales folks with the ability to say, here's the thought out process and the total budget you're going to have to get approval for. So that's a huge component of it. And then the other is, are you outselling your operational reach, right? If a customer comes back to you and says, hey, we have no way to install these things, or we have no bodies to throw at it, right. You have a plan. So, and if you have 3 large retailers that sign on at the same time, that's a great problem to have, right. Unless they go into a queue and say, oh yeah, we can get to that in 2022. Usually not a good conversation that you have to have with the client. So we give you a couple avenues to really help close deals, accelerate the sales pipeline, and even grow it quicker, especially if you have some sort of like pilot program. You can execute on those faster. You start to grow your scale a little bit larger.
Right. Can you give us a little more insight into the dynamics of the industry, I guess? Like, are you seeing a lot of OEMs face that challenge where they're strapped for resources, or they're locking down deals but can't meet them at scale? And I guess, is that representative of good business? Are things looking good for OEMs? It's almost a good problem to have,
Yeah, some of the bigger challenges, I guess it depends on where you're at.
Sure.
From a maturity of a company.
Right.
A lot of the manufacturers we work with today, particularly with like COVID and everything that happened, and the products that represented some type of solution for COVID, people needed it. They needed it now. And can you keep up with the pace, and can you keep up with that demand? So the first thing is if you're smaller and you're growing, you have to have a plan in place, because all it takes is one massive portfolio to fail at, and then that reputation goes out there.
Right.
So you have to be prepared at scale. That's first and foremost. So if you're smaller, having that plan and definitely rolling that out helps you tremendously. One of the other issues that we consistently see is if you do allow like a retailer or somebody to do the project, the people that are usually managing the project already work probably 50, 60, 70 hours a week in the facility space. Mm-hmm. And then this is a secondary project, right? So you only have enough focus and attention, to drive certain things internally. So a lot of times what we'll see is something will start to turn south in the project, and then all of a sudden things go on hold. You're not generating the cash like you thought you were. Sometimes projects get pushed into an additional year. There's all kinds of implications that can go with a improperly managed project and rollout. So we're giving manufacturers the ability and or at least capability to go in and control not just the products that they're shipping out and how they perform, but to also control how fast they go in and what's the quality of the installation and how are they delighting their clients and partners by already having all that stuff in place so they don't have to take the burden on themselves.
Right. Well, my next question was going to basically be to ask what value does Vixxo provide as it increases the bandwidth of the sales team, but you kind of already gave us that. So maybe if you could expand on some of the strategies to actually make that possible. So we've got a good understanding for Vixxo comes in and helps increase that bandwidth, and there's a lot of domino effect positives that come from it. Are there any specific strategies that the OEM or that Vixxo needs to keep in mind as they approach that dynamic to make sure that it's actually achieved in a high quality way?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. A lot of retailers and C-store and grocery and restaurant like that we work with.
Yeah.
Very rarely do they say, "That's a great product. We're going to roll that out to our entire portfolio." So usually they'll do some type of a pilot concept. So having a strategy for your pilot concept and the speed at which you can do that, right? Do you have to fly people out to do a store survey? Do you have to do all kinds of different components to get a quick install in? We have feet on the ground all through the US and all through Canada. We can turn pilots in a week. So wow. If you equip salespeople with, hey, low risk, easy entry, let's get a pilot, let's prove the product to you, let's get some data so you get a comfort level to roll this out to your entire portfolio. Yeah. For our partners today, we turn those in a week or two. Or if you just have to have feet on the ground to go meet at a location and say, hey, can you do a quick assessment? What's this gonna take? That really helps move things much, much faster. If it takes you a month to do an assessment or 3 weeks, then all of a sudden a new priority, a new fire has come up with the retailer, and then all of a sudden you're on the back burner, and
then there's a new assessment to make on
right.
top of that. Yeah.
So moving fast is so incredibly important to sales executives.
Yeah.
We give you the ability to move very quickly.
Love that. So then, I guess to wrap up our conversation, when it comes to pipeline growth and pipeline expansion, is there anything on the horizon for the OEM market that you think is going to make this consistently important? Any maybe long-term effects from COVID, any shifts in the market, or just kind of how you see the dynamics between OEMs and their clients developing moving forward?
Yeah, I think what we've seen is the need for innovation, right? So I don't think there's ever been this much of a spotlight on occupied spaces, historically, at least that I've seen.
Yeah.
So whether it's rethinking your food offering or even the way that the clients move throughout your venues, the way you enter and exit a bathroom, the experience in a bathroom, all of those things are being rethought today. So now these manufacturers and these innovation companies out there producing these products, there is a lot of people looking for these. So my recommendation obviously is if you have that product and there is that need, you grow so fast with an innovative product, right? And so depending on the size of your sales team, depending on if you have internal technicians today, you got to be ready for 4, 5, 6 different major brands to want to roll out very quickly. And if you get one shot at it,
right.
If you're not ready to scale, right, do you get another shot at it? So preparing and investing and having somebody ready to go and ready to match that growth, that's going to be extremely, extremely important to grow that pipeline.
Totally. And I know Vixxo has really put a priority on making its services, its solutions, and really its whole business model adaptive. I was about to say adaptative, but that's not a word. Adaptive,
Yes.
Reactive, and able to grow as its clients grow. So I think all of that is represented in how you create those domino effects for sales teams and really for your entire OEM partners. So I think on that note, that does it for our conversation today on the sort of domino effects on other departments, specifically sales teams that Vixxo provides for OEMs. So thank you again to our guest, Mr. Ryan Baumgartner, Vice President of Projects and Partner Development at Vixxo. Ryan, it's always a pleasure getting to chat. Thank you for joining us again.
You.
And I guess just real quick before we close up entirely, if folks want to find out more about your benefits that you bring to sales departments with your OEM partnerships, how can they learn more? How can they get in touch?
Yeah, if you just go to Vixxo.com, we have a page dedicated to our manufacturing partners talking about the capabilities. And then all of my information's on there as well. Happy to have a quick conversation, do some simulations with you, whatever makes you feel comfortable in kind of learning and educating about what we offer. Happy to do so.
Perfect. All right, Ryan Baumgartner, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for watching another video episode of Get Your Fix, a Vixxo podcast. If you like what you saw and heard and want to get some more Get Your Fix content, make sure that you're subscribing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and make sure that you are heading to our website, Vixxo.com, Vixxo.com, for more information. Again, I'm Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Get Your Fix.